Thank you for coming out and joining us this evening. My name is John Ellis. I'm the Tellico Hatchery manager. I'm joined this evening by Mimi Barnes, Travis Scott, and Mark Thurman. We're here to provide you guys with some information about the Tellico River and fishing there, and just the Tellico area in general. We have a couple of videos and presentations that we're going to play for you, and then following those, we'll open up the last few minutes of the class for any questions anybody may have to ask.
Tellico is a small town in eastern Monroe County, and it's labeled the gateway to the Cherokee National Forest. The Cherokee National Forest is fairly remote, and there's limited resources once you enter the forest. So Tellico would be your last stop to procure supplies, and especially gasoline. You're not going to run into any gas stations once you get on the Forest Service Road 210. So make sure you top off the tank and get any necessities you might need for your day of fishing. Hi, I'm Travis Scott with Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency. We just left Tellico Plains on Highway 165, also known as the Cherokee Skyway. We've been traveling along the Tellico River. We're about to take a turn on the Forest Service Road 210, which will take us up to 20 miles into the Cherokee National Forest, all along the Tellico River and the trout fisheries that it provides. I just wanted to remind folks that Tellico River Road, Forest Service Road 210, is very narrow. There's a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit, and at certain times of the year, it can be heavily traveled with all sorts of vehicles, including large RVs. So be aware when you get on this road to take your time and enjoy the beautiful scenery. There's plenty of pull-offs to get off the road. Be sure your tires are completely off the paved surface. We're 4/10 of a mile along Forest Service Road 210. This is the entrance to the Tellico Ranger Station. TWRA partners with the USDA Forest Service to manage the fisheries and the wildlife here on the South Cherokee. The Forest Service maintains all the campgrounds, access areas, the road. They're a great source of information about the forest, and this would be where you would need to come to find information about the Forest Service and their management and their campgrounds. There are numerous campgrounds along the Tellico River corridor. Some are free, some are pay. Most are first come, first served. Generally, they have a paved or a gravel parking area, a fire pit, and a picnic table. There's usually restrooms available. There's not any water. There is a dump station and fresh water at the North River checking station available to campers. But be sure and check with the Forest Service if you have specific questions regarding camping in the Tellico River corridor. This is where it all starts. We're here at the confluence of Turkey Creek and Tellico River. Upstream from here, TWRA intensively manages the Tellico River to provide a unique trout fishing angling opportunity. From March 1st through August 15th, the river is closed on Thursdays and Fridays to allow TWRA staff to stock the river heavily with trout. From here to the state line in North Carolina, there's over 13 miles of water with over 100 different stocking locations where we distribute trout. So Saturday morning, the river is full of fish ready for you to catch. So people ask, where do you stock trout? Well, we have over 100 locations where we stock those trout, but we're looking for locations that are close to the road and they'll be easy to get trout into. To cover that amount of ground, 13 miles of river, 100 stops, it takes quite a bit of time. Stocking days generally around 10 hours to get all of our stocking done. And so we want to make sure that we have easy access to the stream to stock, and then it makes it easy for the anglers as well. But after stocking, these fish are going to spread out along the river to other locations as well. Locally, we call this the kayak bridge, the kayak takeout. Right now, we're 5.2 miles along Forest Service Road 210. This bridge behind us is actually one of our stocking locations. So we've been stocking about a mile of river so far as we've moved up. Certain times of the year, the water flows are right. There'll be a number of people up here paddling the Tellico River. They don't necessarily interfere with your fishing. I've been here before as paddlers went by. As soon as they passed, I cast again and instantly caught a trout. If it is interfering with your fishing, don't be afraid to move further upstream. There's just a short section of the river that the paddlers will be at. Generally, above the Cow Camp Bridge, we'll see later on, you won't run into any paddlers. You know, we all have to share the resource. The forest is here for all people to utilize how they want to utilize it. Some people like to paddle, some people like to fish, or some people come to hike. Some just want to see the scenery. But we can all get along and still enjoy what's here to offer in the Cherokee National Forest. We've been on Forest Service Road 210 for 6.1 miles. We've come to one of the most iconic scenes in the Cherokee National Forest, Bald River Falls. This is a very popular location, and oftentimes the road will be clogged with pedestrians, so be sure to pay attention as you travel through here. Bald River comes out of the Cherokee National Forest as part of the Bald River Wilderness. It's a tributary to Tellico River, and it has a nice wild trout population of both rainbow and brown, and at the headwaters it has our native brook trout. It's a good choice if you want to fish for some of our wild trout in the Tellico River corridor. We're now at the Baby Falls Day Use area. There's picnic tables. This is the first restroom facilities you'll find since we turned on the Tellico River Road 6.4 miles ago. There's several stocking locations right near here, plenty of parking, handicapped spaces. In addition, there's a beautiful Baby Falls. It's a good place to fish, and it's also a good place to watch the kayakers tempt fate going over the falls. So we're at Cow Camp Bridge. We're 7.1 miles from when we got on Forest Service Road 210. This is a stocking location, but it's also an important place to remember as we move into the summer season. Trout are cold water species and require water temperatures below 70 degrees. As we approach Memorial Day, the water temperature downstream of here exceeds 70 degrees. So once we reach Memorial Day, we will no longer stock below this point. So if you're coming to Tellico River in the summertime after Memorial Day, you would want to start your fishing upstream of here more than likely. That's where we'll be stocking. Downstream, there's still probably trout in the summer, but they're not going to be as receptive to your lures. We're at the junction of North River Road and Tellico River Road, Forest Service Road 210. We've been on the road for 7.6 miles. Here at North River is where our delayed harvest season begins, starting October 1st and lasts until the end of February. From this point upstream to the Tennessee-North Carolina state line, it's catch and release only from October 1st to the end of February. This area of the stream will be stocked for that delayed harvest, and anglers consistently report excellent catches this time of year. North River Road travels for over a dozen miles to reconnect with the Cherokee Skyway, which we left earlier. This is a gravel road that parallels North River for most of its distance. North River is a wild trout stream and has special regulations. It's got wild rainbows, wild brown trout, and then its headwaters wild brook trout. So it offers a different angling experience than the stock trout of Tellico River. Also on Tellico River upstream of here, you often will find wild rainbows and wild brown trout in addition to the trout we stock. We've traveled 10.5 miles along Forest Service Road 210, and we're at Panther Branch access area. There's plenty of parking here, a scenic bridge, and it's also one of our stocking locations. We actually get off the truck and carry fish down to this hole. So it's a good place to stop and have a picnic and catch a trout.
As you're traveling up National Forest Service Road 210, also known as the Tellico River Road, at mile 11.7, you'll arrive at the North River Check Station. Here at the check station, there are several amenities that are nice to have when you're in this far in the wilderness, such as bathrooms, bear-proof garbage cans, potable water, a camper washout station, and an informational kiosk. Also available here is a wader wash station, which is maintained to help prevent the spread of aquatic nuisance species. The North River Check Station is a good place to stop as you start your adventure up the Tellico River. Located at mile 12 on the Tellico River Road, you'll find Dam Creek Campground, which offers primitive walk-in camping. Dam Creek is the first of 9 campgrounds that you'll encounter as you travel up Tellico River Road. Another benefit of staying at Dam Creek Campground is the Dam Creek Fishing Hole, which is directly across the street from the campground. It's an excellent place to start your fishing adventure on the upper Tellico River. Located at mile 13 on the River Road, you'll find Green Cove Store and Lodge. Here at Green Cove Store, you can not only purchase your fishing license, but you can also get any gear that you may need for your fishing adventure. They also are a full-service store that offers food, drinks, propane, and other camping commodities. They also offer room and board, which is the only place in the National Forest that you can actually get a hotel room. One of them being streamside rooms where you have direct access to the Tellico River. Located just up the road from Green Cove Angler and Lodge, you'll find Sourwood Campground. Sourwood is the only campground on Tellico River that is free. It has excellent camping sites right beside the river and offers easy access to fishing. Located just above Sourwood Campground, you'll find Sourwood Bridge. Sourwood Bridge serves as the lower boundary for our annual Tellico Kids Fishing Day, which we allow free fishing for kids 16 and under. Located at mile 13.8 on the Tellico River Road, you'll find Bald River Road. Bald River Road provides access to Green Cove Pond, Holly Flats Campground, and also the Bald River Trailhead, where you'll find wild trout stream fishing and a trail that'll lead you to the top of Bald River Falls. Located at mile 14.6, you'll find the Tellico Hatchery. The Tellico Hatchery serves as the headquarters for stocking operations on the Tellico River. During stocking season, the hatchery staff will make 120 individual stops throughout the stretch of the river to stock fish. An interesting fact about the Tellico River is that it receives the highest number of fish and the highest number of big fish of any stream in the state. Located right outside the gates of the Tellico Hatchery, you'll find the Moment of Freedom Pier. The Moment of Freedom Pier is designed to provide a true stream fishing experience for people that have mobility issues. Handicap parking is available in the parking lot at the Moment of Freedom Pier, as is wheelchair access to the river. While anybody is allowed to fish the Moment of Freedom Pier, we ask that you give priority to those with special needs and require the structure to access the river. Right above the hatchery at mile 14.8, you'll find the Tellico River Dam and Walk Bridge. The bridge serves as the upper boundary for our kids fishing today, and right above the dam is an excellent fishing hole. Another example of a campground on the upper Tellico River is Holder Cove. Holder Cove is located just feet off of the Tellico River and provides very easy access to wading and bank fishing. Holder Cove is accessible to both RV and tent camping. It provides nice level camping spots as well as picnic tables and fire pits. Another point of interest is Holder Cove Branch Falls, which is located a short walk directly across the road from Holder Cove Campground. We're at the State Line Campground, and it's named that for a very good reason. Right now we're standing on North Carolina-Tennessee State Line. There's ample camping spots up here, easy access to the river, but once you cross the bridge here at Rough Ridge, you will be in the state of North Carolina. So your Tennessee license will not apply. You'll be, at that point in time, need to abide by North Carolina fishing regulations.
We hope this information has been helpful as you plan your trip for the Tellico area. Be sure and visit our website at tnwildlife.org. And you can always buy your licenses and permits at gooutdoorstennessee.com. This has been a production of your Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency. Tennessee Wildlife. It's what we do.
we're going to keep on rolling. I'm going to start into my part of this class, which is actually a presentation over Tellico Hatchery and our general stocking that we do throughout the harvest season on Tellico. With this being our first Zoom class, I decided to go with the PowerPoint presentation. I'm going to share that with you guys now and go ahead and start.
Hello and welcome to the Tellico River. The Tellico River is nationally recognized as a premier trout stream, one which has been attracting trout anglers for generations. Located inside the Cherokee National Forest in Monroe County, Tennessee, the Tellico River provides outstanding trout fishing opportunities year-round. I'd like to begin the presentation with a few historic photos I was able to find of the Tellico area, like this one that shows two anglers fishing below Bald River Falls. If you'll notice, they're both using cane poles. I couldn't find an exact date on this picture, but it's probably taken somewhere in the early 40s. Or like this picture of a fly fisherman below Baby Falls. As you can see, the Tellico River has a rich fishing history and has provided a place for families to come and fish for generations. I just included this picture because I thought it was just really, really cool. You see the old steam locomotive passing beside the top of Bald River Falls. Actually, Babcock Lumber owned and logged the majority of the land surrounding the Tellico River until the early 1900s, and they used railroad to remove the logs from the forest. The Tellico River Road that you come up when you're going up to fish, it was actually once an old rail bed. By 1933, pretty much all the Babcock lumber land had been sold to the U.S. Forest Service, and that's how we ended up with a good portion of the South Cherokee National Forest. Today, the Tellico River continues to provide outstanding fishing opportunities to a vast array of anglers, as well as a perfect place to teach our next generation of trout anglers. While there are holdover wild fish present in the Tellico River, the Tellico Hatchery and the fish reared there are essential to Tellico's current success and have played a pivotal role in Tellico's extensive fishing history. The Tellico Hatchery was constructed in the late 1930s by the Civilian Conservation Corps. It was originally composed of 6 25-foot diameter round pools. 3 of these pools are currently still in service at the hatchery, and the other was used for the foundation for the Tellico Brook Trout Hatchery. The pool these guys are actually in, where they're seine netting trout to be put into the 50-gallon barrels there in the back of the truck. That's the traditional way that they stock the Tellico River. And actually, all 3 of the pools that you can see in this picture are still in service. Today, the Tellico Hatchery has 34 concrete raceways, which can hold an average of 5,000 fish each, including the round pools, which we talked about earlier, which we typically reserve for our Tellico trophies. The Tellico Hatchery can hold nearly 200,000 fish when at full capacity. Fish reared at the Tellico Hatchery are received from Del Holland National Fish Hatchery at approximately 7 inches long and 18 months old. These trout will spend the next 10 to 12 months being cared for by the hatchery staff before being used for stocking. During this time, these fish can almost double in size. It's not unusual to see stock-sized trout nearing 1 pound in weight. Here's a quick overview of the operations we just discussed. Like I mentioned, fish arrive from Del Holland National Fish Hatchery at approximately 7 inches. At this point, the fish are put into a very intensive feed and care regimen to ensure that they're raised to quality stocking size at Tellico Hatchery. These fish will then be used to stock rivers and streams throughout the area, particularly the Tellico River, Citico Creek, and Creek Cove Pond. Our hatchery now is capable of holding up to 200,000 fish when at full capacity. We do not spawn rainbow trout or brown trout here. We only focus on spawning the southern Appalachian brook trout to help in restoration efforts, as well as we've started taking up spawning albino rainbow trout to be used here in the Tellico River and also other streams throughout the state. Although not spawned in Tellico, rainbow and brown trout are the 2 primary species stocked from Tellico Hatchery. Below you can see an example of each of these fish with a rainbow trout being to the left and brown trout to the right. The Tellico Hatchery Southern Appalachian Brook Trout Hatchery supports Southern Appalachian brook trout restoration efforts throughout the state. Current improvements being made to the system will provide a state-of-the-art hatching facility for southern Appalachian brook trout. Southern Appalachian brook trout are Tennessee's only native trout species and can be pursued in small halivation streams throughout the Cherokee National Forest. Some of Tellico's best brook trout fishing can be found on Sycamore, Rough Ridge, and Brookshire Creeks. Over the last several years, we've been able to successfully rear and spawn trophy-sized albino rainbow trout at Tellico Hatchery. This ends up being a point of discussion on a lot of online forums and such. These are true albino rainbow trout. They're not palomino trout. They're not golden rainbow trout, and they are not California golden trout. These are true albino rainbow trout that you get by spawning a male albino rainbow trout with a female albino rainbow trout, as compared to the palomino trout, which is the result of a golden rainbow trout being spawned with a rainbow trout. You can see in the pictures here, these two fish are very, very similar. One identifying factor there is that the albino rainbow trout does have a pink eye, as you can see in the bottom picture there, as compared to the palomino, which clearly does not. Which brings us to stocking. The Tellico River receives the highest number of stock and trophy-sized trout of any river in Tennessee. From March 1st through August 15th of every harvest season, the Tellico River is closed to allow the hatchery crew to stock for the upcoming week. The average stocking day, which can easily last up to 12 hours, involves two separate stocking trips, one for the lower half and another for the upper portion of the Tellico River. While stocking the Tellico River, the hatchery crew will make over 120 individual stops to spread fish throughout the river. This video I'm about to show you is of me loading fish to be stocked on the Tellico on a bluebird sky day. Unfortunately, they're not all like this. More often than not, it almost seems to be without fail that on Thursdays and Fridays, the weather will change. It's not uncommon to come out and start a stocking day at 6:30 in the morning in the rain or snow. This video that I'm showing you was actually taken this season, just before sunrise, as the hatchery crew is fired up for a stocking day in the pouring down rain. I took this video from the back of the hatchery truck last Thursday morning as we were preparing to start our stocking day, loading up fish. As you can see, the weather's definitely changed. The weather does change fast in Tellico, but it's not unusual for the hatchery crew to go out and stock in adverse weather conditions. Which includes snow. Here you can see a couple of our staff members loading up the truck to go out for a day stocking in Tellico in a nice steady snow. It's not unusual for the weather to change. It's just kind of the name of the game, stocking in the mountains like this. But the crew's dedication to making sure that the fish are in the river on time as promised is really unbelievable. Your average stocking day in Tellico is not always just throwing fish. As a result of the storms and the high winds that we often see in the mountains like this, it's not unusual to encounter several down trees, depending on the time of year and the weather that we had. So you can usually depend on getting the chainsaw out at least a few times each stocking season. Okay, now for just a quick overview of stocking operations at Tellico Hatchery. The Tellico River is stocked with more stock and trophy-sized trout than any other trout stream in the state. Traditionally, there are only 12 stocking sites on the Tellico River, but today's hatchery crew makes over 120 individual stops. The river is closed to fishing on Thursday and Friday throughout permit season, which is March 1st to August the 15th. This closure, however, is not in effect on national or state holidays. Which brings us to trophy fish. In recent years, the Tellico Hatchery has developed the Tellico Trophy program, which allows us to produce some amazing trophy fish that are stocked on a regular basis. Trophy-sized fish are reared in one of two ways. Some are retired brood fish received from Irwin National Hatchery. These fish arrive somewhere around 3 to 3.5 pounds and are cared for at the Tellico Hatchery until they reach trophy size, which is often in excess of 5 pounds. Other trophies are what we refer to as trophies raised at Tellico. These are albino, rainbow, and brown trout, which are held at the hatchery until they reach trophy size. These fish are closely monitored and intensively cared for. When the desired trophy size is achieved, these fish are carefully stocked throughout the Tellico River. It is not unusual for our largest trophies raised at Tellico to weigh in the 10-pound range. Here's a great example of 2 trophies raised at Tellico. Either of these fish could easily be considered the trophy of a lifetime, and definitely has these 2 young men hooked for life. An interesting fact about both these fish is they were landed on a fly rod. Fly fishing continues to gain popularity on the Tellico River and is obviously a highly effective means to harvest a trophy fish. As I mentioned earlier in the presentation, the Tellico River is a place where trout anglers have passed on their knowledge and skills to the next generation for decades. I have little doubt that one day these gentlemen will bring an aspiring angler in their life to the Tellico River to pass along what they have learned. In my case, it was my uncle. We would drive from Bradley County to Tellico for fishing trips throughout my childhood. These trips were something that I cherished and instilled a love of fishing as well as the outdoors in me at an early age. So like many others, I too learned lessons about fishing as well as life in general on fishing trips to the Tellico River. And just remember, a Tellico trophy doesn't have to be a 10-pound fish. Some of the best memories and best trophies I've seen taken off this river were families coming out and spending time with their loved ones, going out in pursuit of harvesting a limit of fish to take back to camp, and just enjoying some good family time while fishing on the Tellico River. I hope you've enjoyed this presentation and have learned something that you didn't know about fishing the Tellico River. I would like to conclude by offering a few options to fishing something other than the stock section of the Tellico River. If you're looking to try your hand at wild trout streams, I would highly recommend any of these listed. Depending on how far you're willing to venture, these streams offer opportunities to catch wild rainbow, brown, and Tennessee's own southern Appalachian brook trout. They also offer exciting places to fish when the Tellico River is closed for stocking. Another option for fishing on closed days is to fish the Tellico River below Turkey Creek or outside of the permit zone. This portion of the Tellico River is not closed on Thursday and Friday, and the Tellico permit is not required to fish here. I've enjoyed having the opportunity to go over a few highlights of Tellico hatchery operations with you. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them after Travis's presentation, or you can contact me directly at the hatchery by calling 423-253-2661. Thank you for your time. We appreciate you joining us tonight, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. Thank you.
Okay, well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video there. I'm going to turn it over to Travis now, and he's going to go over through some of the regulations and commonly asked questions we have about rules and regulations on the Tellico.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Travis Scott with Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency. I'm the Region 3 Rivers and Streams Manager. I know you may be having some questions and you'd like some answers, and I hope to do that in my upcoming presentation. I'm going to talk about the different rules and regulations and the licensing associated with fishing the Tellico River and some helpful web links that will provide more information at the end. These regulations that are in place have basically been the same since 1977. There's been a variety of regulations since TWRA became an agency and started managing Tellico Hatchery in 1949. But the majority of these have been the same since 77. There's been some changes in dates over the years, whether a Thursday, Friday closure. Sometimes it was a Friday closure and it was only open Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, a lot of different variations. These regulations apply to the area of Tellico River from the confluence with Turkey Creek upstream to the Tennessee-North Carolina state line. And I know the audio wasn't very good, but the video was really nice. It's showing where Turkey Creek was. Turkey Creek is as you're going up Tellico River Road, there will be a road that cuts off to the left that's paved after you've turned on the Forest Service Road 210. That is Turkey Creek Road. Just past that, you're going to cross a stream that comes in. That's Turkey Creek. There's a pull off to your left, and we'll have our sign on the side of the road. That's where the regulations begin. From this point upstream to the North Carolina state line, the Tellico daily permit type 98 is required from March 1st through August 15th. Also during this time period, the river is closed to fishing on Thursdays and Fridays in that zone, except on national or state holidays. The holiday has to actually fall on a Thursday or Friday, the observance of that holiday. So every year you're going to get Good Friday, and then some years, the 4th of July, if it is observed on that Thursday or Friday, will allow you to fish. From August 16th through the last day of February, fishing is allowed every day, and the Tellico permit is not required. You're allowed to keep 7 trout a day, and there is no size limit. There's also a special regulation we put in place for our kids' fishing event. So from the Sourwood campground, the iron bridge that crosses the river there at Sourwood, from there upstream to the dam on Tellico River is reserved for children 16 and under from 1/2 hour before sunrise until noon on Free Fishing Day, which is the first Saturday after the first Monday of the month of June. Fishing is only permitted from 1/2 hour before official sunrise to 1/2 hour after sunset. The possession, just even possessing fishing equipment and or tackle on the stream banks prior to those hours is illegal. Each angler is permitted only 1 rod or pole. There are no bait or lure restrictions from March 1st through September 30th. However, Tellico River is managed with a delayed harvest regulation to allow a unique fishery in the fall and winter months. From October 1st until the end of February, it's catch and release only from the confluence of North River to the Tennessee-North Carolina state line. During this catch and release season, only artificial lures are permitted and the use or possession of bait is prohibited. These regulations do not apply downstream of North River. Treble hooks are permitted on the Tellico River. There are also numerous U.S. Forest Service regulations in place that you need to be aware of. One of them was mentioned in the video. If you're using a pull-off, make sure all of your tires are completely off the paved surface. You can only camp in designated areas. They don't want people pulling into a pull-off to save their fishing space and camping in that pull-off. You have to use an actual campground. They also have special food and refuge storage restrictions to help with bear human encounters in the Tellico River corridor. That information can be found at the link you see on the screen. When we get to licensing, there's numerous options available. These regulations came about over time through the state legislature, through our commissioners, and essentially, it seems like a lot, it seems complicated, but the ultimate goal was to try to provide a less expensive license for a variety of people so that anyone that wanted to would have the opportunity to fish. These licenses listed on the left of the screen are special resident permanent licenses that are only available by application. The applications are available online or at regional TWRA officers, and a doctor's statement will be required as defined on the application. It's a one-time fee, and they're valid as long as the holder remains a resident of Tennessee. However, these are not lifetime sportsman licenses, and additional permits may be required, such as the Tellico daily permit. It would be required each day the person fished that had one of these special licenses. However, they are not required to purchase a trout license. On resident licenses, ages 12 and under, no license is required, but they must purchase a Tellico Trout Daily Type 98 permit each day they fish, unless they have the Lifetime Sportsman license. For residents, ages 13 to 15, they have the following options. If you've got a Lifetime Sportsman license, you're set, no worries. There's also a Junior Hunt Fish Trap license, type 002, that's available for ages 13 to 15 that covers everything other than that Tellico Trout Daily permit. They would have to buy that in addition to the Junior Hunt Fish Trap. Another option is a special license for disabled children under age 18 that's available by application only. But they would also have to have the Tellico Trout daily permit. For residents ages 16 to 64, there are numerous options available. One, of course, is this disabled under age 18 license for residents 16 through 17. They could purchase that plus the daily permit. A lifetime sportsman's license, of course. The annual sportsman's license covers everything. You wouldn't need to buy anything else to fish Tellico River for trout. This next category will cover most of the people that we encounter on the river. For ages 16 to 64, typically you're going to have your annual hunting and fishing combination license, your annual trout license. In addition to that, each day you fish, you'll need the Tellico daily permit. We get a lot of questions over time. Why can't I just buy a fishing license? Why must I buy a hunting license? And that has to do with funding. TWRA is funded mainly through license sales, and through our license sales, though, we get money from the federal government that has been acquired through excise taxes that is placed on hunting and fishing equipment. The Dingell-Johnson Act, Pittman-Robertson Act, these place taxes on sporting goods that go to the federal government to be divvied out to states based on the number of license sales. And so TWRA, Tennessee, gets to count every license sold as both a hunting license and a fishing license. We get more of that federal money coming in to help operate our agency. Unlike other states throughout the country, TWRA does not get any funds from the state's general tax fund. Most other states do, and they operate as a Department of Natural Resources. Another fishing type that is available, but I don't necessarily recommend it, but it is a combination that would legally allow you to fish the Tellico River. It's a one-day fishing license, no trout, plus an annual trout stamp and the Tellico Trout daily permit. Instead, I would recommend buying a one-day fishing all fish, which includes your trout, and the Tellico daily permit. Another option for residents of Monroe County is the County of Residence Fishing License. County of Residence Fishing License allows license holders to fish in his or her county of residence with natural bait, worms, crickets, cut bait, corn, but not minnows, and no artificial baits. But in addition to the county of resident, you would need an annual trout and a Tellico daily permit. Obviously, since the county of residence fishing license, you would have to be a resident of Monroe County to purchase this and be legal to fish on the Tellico River. Now for residents ages 65 and over, there's several options as well. Of course, the Lifetime Sportsman covers everything you need. There's also an annual resident senior citizen hunt, fish, trap license. It's available for $5 from license agents. There's no supplemental licenses are required, such as the trout license, but you do have to purchase the Tellico daily permit each day you fish. The permanent senior citizen hunt, fish, trap license is available for $50 from license agents for a one-time fee. It's valid as long as the holder remains a resident of Tennessee, but it's not a lifetime sportsman license, and additional permits may be required, such as the Tellico daily permit. A trout license, however, is not required with this permanent license. A final option would be the annual senior citizen sportsman. And it's for $50, it's all inclusive. It's valid for the entire year for hunting, trapping, and sport fishing without any supplemental licenses. And it would cover everything. So what have we learned? The main thing to take away from this is that there's a license for everyone. And unless you have some type of sportsman license, you must purchase a daily permit. A sportsman's license, though, exempts you from having the daily permit. All right, so let's all take a deep breath, relax a little bit. Remember that fishing is fun. It's a lot to take in, but we're going to continue now with our non-resident options. Ages 12 and under, very similar to residents. No license is required, but they still must purchase the Tellico Trout daily permit. For non-residents 13 and older, there are 3 options. There's a 3-day all fish license, and be sure you buy the all fish if you're a non-resident because it covers your trout stamp. In addition, you'd need the Tellico for each day fished. There's a 10-day as well that would cover you for 10 consecutive days. Each of those days that you fish for trout at Tellico, you would need the daily permit. And then there's an annual all fish that would cover fishing for the entire year, but each day you went to fish, you would have to buy an additional Tellico trout stamp. For non-residents, though, there is a unique opportunity. Non-residents who were born in Tennessee may apply for the native Tennessean annual license. This license provides non-residents born in the state but no longer residing in the state the opportunity to purchase annual Tennessee hunting and fishing and trapping licenses at the same cost as residents. It's only available by application. Details are available on our website, and there's a link that I show on the screen that would take you directly to that PDF so you can fill that form out. If you're living in another state but you come visit often, you can still qualify if you were born in Tennessee for in-state resident license fees. If this is all overwhelming, we do have a link on our website. It's on the left side of the page here that takes you to a flow chart, and you can guide yourself through the steps to determine exactly what you need to purchase to be legal to fish at Tellico. Another option is free fishing day. No licenses or permits are needed at all on free fishing day, which is June 12th, 2021. On free fishing day, though, remember that area from Sourwood Campground upstream to the dam on Tellico is for children only. But also, every year, free fishing day is the first Saturday after the first Monday in June. But anyone can come fish for trout on Tellico and not have to have any type of license on free fishing day. I want to talk about some online resources that are available that have a lot of information. I'm going to go into more detail in the next few slides on the first 2 links there, but I wanted to point out that the Tellico Outfitters is a local outfitter there in Tellico Plains, and they have a Facebook page, and they post, I think it's weekly or at least regularly, a regular fishing report with very good information on what people are catching fish on, what the water levels are, etc. Also, don't forget TWRA's webpage. Tons of information, not only about trout fishing Tellico, but all types of hunting and fishing throughout the state. The Forest Service as well has a lot of information available on their website to guide you through your trip to the Cherokee National Forest. But don't forget our local businesses and try to support them on your way to the Tellico River corridor. Tellico Outfitters, TN Fly Co., Green Cove Angler are all local businesses that are geared toward the Tellico River, and they are excellent resources for both gear and local knowledge of the fisheries. And of course, our Tennessee Fishing Guide, be sure to pick up a copy. It has all the information we're discussing tonight and is invaluable when you're planning your trip. The first link I was talking about is to TWRA's interactive map. This map has a ton of information about trout stocking locations, boat ramps, access areas, marinas. The list goes on and on. Each of these icons represents a trout stocking location that have the fish on them. If we zoom in closer, this is a close-up of the Tellico River corridor. And each of these squares is an individual stocking location. And if you clicked on that icon, it would take you to the GPS coordinates and give you the information about the parking that's available at some of these access or these different stocking locations. And that's available for every trout stocking stream across the state, every location across the state, not just Tellico. Another good source for information is the USGS water data site. This site has water quality and stream flow data for water bodies across the United States, but of course we're particularly interested in Tellico River. This gauge has been operating for over 75 years in Tellico Plains, excuse me, and it shows the flow of the river. Of course, the flow that it's reflected here is in Tellico Plains itself, but it's a pretty good gauge on what's happening further upstream in the forest. You'll notice this was for the month of March, and it's up to the current date. So we're seeing the water rise with the current rain. Down along the bottom, you see these different triangles. Those triangles represent the median statistic for that date throughout the years, which means roughly that's what you might expect the stream to be in a normal flow situation. Currently, this time of year, it should be around that 300 cubic feet per second, which is an excellent level for fishing. Anything much above 350, say, would be more difficult to wade, but bank fishing, you can always stand on the bank and fish the river and not have any trouble, no matter what the flows are. But it's a good idea to take a look at this before you travel to Tellico. You can see if the water's rising or falling and how it may affect your fishery. I want to thank everybody for attending the class. And I hope we provided answers to a lot of your questions through our presentations. But if we didn't, we'd be certainly happy to try to answer any and all questions you may have now.
And Travis and John, if you look down, we have 5 questions in a question and answer.
We lost you, Mimi, but I think it was a reference to the dots. Yes, a couple times over the years, we've had a change in staff at the hatchery, and they didn't know the stops very well. And it only took a couple of trout stockings for the phone to ring off the hook with people complaining about their spot not being stocked. And so what we did is we went in and painted markers at each of the stocking locations so our staff would know, but in addition, the public could know. Like I said, we've got a website that has all the GPS coordinates of every site, trout stocking site across the state. It's not a secret. We want people to know where the fish are. We want them to be successful. So yes, there are yellow dots, and each of those is stocked every week.
I can take the question from John here about the hatchery. We're closed right now because of state and federal COVID guidelines. We're just waiting to hear. We have to comply to not only the state of Tennessee's guidelines, but since we're located in the National Forest, we also have to comply to federal guidelines. That there's a lot of different variables of that. How many people you can have in one place at one time. We don't have the staff to regulate just allowing, say, 10 people in at one time. And plus, all state offices are still closed. As soon as things start opening back up and we get the go-ahead on the state and federal level, we'll be opening the hatchery back up. There will be some changes from the way that we operated beforehand, but we'll be opening back up as soon as possible. And I guess to Joe's question about the videos being online, I think that Mimi's going to provide us with a video link. It's going to be a YouTube link for the first video you saw. As far as the presentations that Travis and I gave, those are not available online at the moment. It may be something that we make available later at a later date.
I see a couple of questions. Chris Crenshaw. I will post the Food Bear link again here in a minute. Safe flows for wading. It depends on the individual person and what they're comfortable with, but realistically, we think that flows above 350 might be a little difficult. Of course, it depends on the section of the river as well. Some places may not be feeling the current as much, but keep that in mind. 350 seems like maybe the max. John, I asked about having the stocking days on Wednesday and Thursday, having Friday open for fishing. Like I said, there's been a lot of iterations of that over the years. We're pretty comfortable with the way it's set up now. Telico doesn't only stock Tellico River, Citico Creek, and Green Cove Pond. They have other obligations as well in Polk County and other places for kids events. And so we start moving days for Tellico, Citico. That changes everything that they do there. And so we're pretty comfortable with the way we're doing it now. It seems like most people are more available to fish on Saturday. Really, the reason we have those closures in effect are so that we can stock. In the years past, before that closure was in effect, it was difficult for the truck to get to the stream to stock. And of course, you had a line of cars following along, catching the trout as fast as they went in. So the closures will definitely stay. As far as the actual days, who knows? They have changed over the years, but currently we're happy with what they are. There are not two hatcheries. There's only one hatchery. Telico's stocked. It's been stocked every week it's scheduled this year. The road at Telico is still rough, but Tellico Hatchery's still been able to stock between Jake Best and Warden Fields.
Yeah, we're currently able to stock the full extent of the Telico right now. As far as going in road condition fishing, it is rough, but it's not anything at all like it was last year. I mean, it's your typical kind of potholes and a few ruts. There is some washouts, but for the most part, we have every intention to continue to stock the whole thing, and the road seems to be passable for fishing without any problem.
William Miller asked if the campgrounds and facilities are open. Not all of them yet. I'd recommend checking the Forest Service website for opening days. Currently, Sourwood is open, and all of the campsites that are actually on Tellico River are open. The sites that have gates like Big Oak Cove, they're still closed for now. Holly Flats is still closed, but they will be opening up soon, but I'm not sure the exact date. The Forest Service would have that information.
The average number of fish stocked per week in Tellico and Telico, it will vary. We always stock enough fish to provide a quality fishing experience. Combined, you're looking at probably somewhere in the area of 5,000 fish. The only time that I really alter those numbers much is if we're having some kind of major weather event or when temperatures start increasing. You do get it to a point to where the water temperature is just too hot to stock down low. We've all seen that. But as an average overall number for both together, right at 5,000 fish a week, that would be stocked fish. And then our trophies on top of that. And like I said, that's something I kind of, those numbers are something we'll come up with on a weekly basis. Trophy numbers.
John, are you able to see? Oh,
yep, I got you. Your link's up.
Okay, thanks. We still got 27 participants. Do we have any more questions? Oh. Comments? May water temperatures. On the May water temperatures, yeah, those start creeping up on the lower end of the river, and by Memorial Day, we will no longer stock below Cow Camp Bridge. And so that's what we see over the course of the season. That water temp over 70 gradually creeps up the river, and eventually by 4th of July, we won't be stocking below North River. Trout are cold water species, and they can't handle temps above 70. There may still be some trout downstream of those areas where we're stocking in those warmer temps, but they're going to be struggling to survive, and they may not bite very well. Concealed carry, that goes with Tennessee state law as far as the carry regulations. If you've completed a class, you should know the answer to that.
As far as the typical flies used on the Telico, that would be a great question to take to some of our local outfitters. We're even considering possibly doing a fishing, instructional type class like this at some point in time. Your feedback on that would be appreciated. But it seems like, you see a lot of Euro nymphing. On the small streams, the wild streams, a lot of dry fly stuff. Like I said, Cody Fisher or the guys at Green Cove or Tennessee Fly Co. Any of those guys will be good people to contact for good quality information on flies and such. As far as the schedule for the road on Telico being fixed, that's actually a Forest Service issue. As far as I know, there's not any immediate plans to get down and work on it, but that could change. An in-person class would definitely be something I think we'd be interested in doing once things kind of get back to normal and we don't have to work under the restrictions that we're currently having to. This is the first time that we've ever done a Zoom class like this, and I hope that you guys have enjoyed it. I hope it's been provided some good information. The hatchery does not have any social media feeds. Everything goes through TWRA's Facebook page.
TWRA also has a Instagram, Twitter, all the social media, and we provide information to them to put out on that format.
Where are the best fishing holes? They're all pretty good. As the season goes, fish accumulate. There's a lot of fish in the river right now. It's just a matter of getting up there. We're seeing good fish and good limits caught every week. As far as handicap access on the Telico itself goes, I mean, that's a good question. It's something we're really proud of right now is our Moment of Freedom Pier that's right outside of the hatchery gate. You have handicap parking spots as well as wheelchair access to a really nice fishing hole right outside of the hatchery. We've had no problems there. We stock that nicely. It's been very successful, and a lot of people have utilized it so far.
There's also handicap access at Green Cove Pond, which is just up over the hill from the Tellico River, that's stocked weekly as well. It has the same permitting restrictions. It is restricted to children, senior citizens, and people that meet the requirements of the resident permanent licenses that we talked about earlier. The fish in the pond are the same size as the fish that go in the river, and there's trophies that go in there as well.
I think with that, one more came in. Restrictions on the pond.
Yeah, Green Cove Pond is reserved for handicapped individuals, children under age 13, and adults 65 years of age and older, or those using those permanent license types: the sport fishing for the blind, wheelchair hunting and fishing, disabled veteran hunting and fishing, mentally challenged, and intellectual disability. The Tellico Trophy permit is required from October 1st through August 15th. It's closed on Thursdays and Fridays during this time period of October 1st through August 15th, except on state or national holidays, which you're going to have more options because it's open longer. Boats are not allowed. A float tube would count. we don't want anglers in the water. It's a small pond and would cause difficulties if people were in the water and on the bank trying to fish. Same open hours, half hour before sunrise, half hour after sunset. Daily creel limit of 7 trout. You're not allowed to fish with minnows there, and each angler is permitted only 1 rod or pole.
With that, I'd just like to say, Travis and John, thank you for the amazing amount of information. We have recorded this session, and we will provide a link to all those that were in attendance. Anyone want to grab that last 2 questions? 1 rod or pole, is that actively fishing? And can I have more rods with me?
That is going to be at the discretion of the wildlife officer. The way the law reads, no, you can only have 1 rod or pole. And that means actively fishing or all together, just 1. But we've had instances over the years. It could be depending on what the officer thought, because it's easy enough for someone to put away a fishing pole in a quick manner and claim they're only fishing with 1. So that's why the law is written like it is. And the reason it's limited to 1 rod or pole is prior to that law being in place, an angler would come with 10 fishing poles and line them up along the pond and take up an entire section of the pond that other anglers couldn't utilize. So that's why it's there, and it's just to allow more anglers to have access so that one person can't take up the majority of the pond.
No, 1 dry rod, 1 nip rod's going to get you, I'll be willing to say.
All right, thank you everybody for attending. I'm going to go ahead and end our session together. Thank you so much. Watch for future classes on our calendar.